He was a quiet man with a steady job, a seemingly devoted husband, a father to 2 beautiful daughters with a 3rd child on the way. Chris Watts lived what many would call a normal life: the house in the suburbs, smiling family photos, weekend barbecues, and date nights with his wife. But on August 13, 2018, something shattered the illusion. A pregnant mother and her 2 daughters suddenly disappeared without a trace. What unfolded in the days that followed revealed a chilling truth, one that no one who knew the Watts family could have ever imagined. This is the true story of Chris Watts, the family man who murdered his entire family for a new beginning. To the outside world, the Watts family seemed picture-perfect. Chris worked for an oil company called Anadarko Petroleum. His wife Shanann was a bubbly, outgoing woman who loved sharing her life on social media.
Say hi, Cece. Say hi, Bells.
Hi, Bill.
No, you gotta say hi.
Hi.
She sold health supplements and often posted videos showing off their family life. Together, they had 2 daughters, Bella, age 4, and Celeste, age 3. And in the summer of 2018, Shanann was pregnant again. They were expecting a boy. His name was going to be Nico. From the outside, it looked like the American dream: a stable job, a growing family, and a beautiful home in Frederick, Colorado. But behind closed doors, things weren't so perfect. The couple had gone through financial difficulties. In 2015, they filed for bankruptcy. They were behind on mortgage payments, and credit card debt was piling up. Still, Shanann was excited about their growing family. She constantly shared updates about her pregnancy and her children. But something had changed with Chris. He became distant, cold, uninterested. He stopped showing affection. He wasn't the man Shanann had fallen in love with anymore. She noticed it. Her friends noticed it. And so did his co-workers. Unbeknownst to Shanann, Chris was having an affair. The other woman. Chris had met a woman named Nicole Kessinger at work. She was intelligent, fit, and independent. Everything Chris claimed he wanted in his new life. They started seeing each other secretly. Chris told Nicole that he was separated from his wife. He painted himself as a good father stuck in a broken marriage. But in reality, Chris was living a double life. During the day, he texted Shanann, told her he loved her, helped with the kids. At night, he was with Nicole, going on dates, having sleepovers, and fantasizing about a future together. As the affair intensified, Chris grew colder and more distant toward Shanann. She confided in her friends, saying she felt like he no longer loved her. She even told one friend that if something happened to her, people should look at Chris first. She didn't know how right she was. The night of the murders. On August 13, 2018, Shanann returned home from a business trip. A friend had dropped her off around 2 a.m. Chris was already home. The girls were asleep. What happened in the next few hours is still hard to comprehend. According to Chris's confession, he and Shanann got into an argument about their relationship. Shanann confronted him, likely suspecting the affair. At some point, Chris snapped. He straddled her on the bed, pressed his hands around her neck, and strangled her to death. She was 15 weeks pregnant. As he stood over her body, his daughters Bella and Celeste walked into the room. They had seen something. They were confused, scared. Chris told them their mother was sick. Then he wrapped Shanann's body in a bedsheet, dragged her down the stairs, and loaded her into the back of his truck. Then, in the most horrifying part of this story, he strapped his daughters into the back seat and drove with them, while their mother's body lay just a few feet away. The drive to the oil field was about 45 minutes. We can only imagine what was going through Bella and Celeste's minds during that ride. Cold-blooded. At the oil site, far from town, Chris parked and carried out the unthinkable. He took Celeste first. Using one of their blankets, he smothered her and placed her body inside one of the oil tanks. Then he did the same to Bella. According to his confession, Bella fought back. She struggled. She pleaded. Her last words were, "Daddy, no." Even after killing his daughters, Chris showed no emotion. He buried Shanann in a shallow grave nearby and drove back home. He texted with co-workers. He went about his day. He even texted Shanann's phone, pretending to be concerned. To everyone else, he acted like a worried husband. Inside, he knew exactly what he had done. By midday, Shanann's friend grew worried. She hadn't heard from her since dropping her off. She called the police and requested a welfare check. Chris greeted the officer calmly. He claimed Shanann had taken the girls to a friend's house. But the signs of foul play were obvious. Her phone was still in the house. So were her purse, car keys, and medication. Her car was still in the garage. Her shoes were by the door. Shanann would never leave without them. Within 48 hours, the FBI and Colorado Bureau of Investigation joined the case. Chris agreed to a polygraph test and failed. Eventually, he confessed, but only partially. He first claimed that Shanann had killed the girls, and he had killed her in a fit of rage. But investigators didn't buy it. Soon, under pressure and overwhelming evidence, Chris told the full truth. He had murdered all three of them, his wife, his daughters, and their unborn son, so he could be with another woman. Chris Watts was arrested and charged with multiple counts of first-degree murder, unlawful termination of a pregnancy, and tampering with a deceased human body. To avoid the death penalty, he pleaded guilty to all charges in November 2018. He was sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole. In court, Shanann's parents spoke with heartbreaking emotion. They said they forgave Chris, not because he deserved it, but because they refused to carry the weight of hate. Chris is currently serving his sentence in a maximum security prison in Wisconsin, far from his hometown and the community he betrayed. Nicole Kessinger went into hiding after the case broke. She claimed she had no idea he was still married. She cooperated fully with investigators. The Chris Watts case haunts people because it destroys the illusion of safety. The idea that a family man, a father, could turn on his own flesh and blood is something most of us can't comprehend. He wasn't a career criminal. He didn't have a violent past. He wore a smile, took family photos, posted vacation pictures. But beneath it all, something was rotting. Chris Watts chose selfishness. He chose lust. He chose murder over honesty, and destroyed an entire family in the process. May Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and baby Nico rest in peace. And may we never forget what happens when darkness hides in plain sight.